Okay, so we are presenting on two projects, the VA Garden Design Project and UCLA Living Lab. I'm Jason.
I'm Jenny.
Hey, Josh.
And start. So this is us, everyone here basically at the VA Gardens right in front of their greenhouse. And basically we were there so we could get a nice tour of the land and then put in some sweat to clean up, all this, all these leaves and sticks that have just been strewn everywhere because really, the place was in a lot of disrepair and in desperate need of two things, which was work to revitalize the space and clean it up, and our job is to make a specific plan of how to really utilize it effectively. So it's supposed to be about a 15-acre plot of land that's owned by the West LA Veterans Affairs Department, which is one of the largest VA departments in the country. And really, it's been used on and off for a few years with a bunch of different things going on, like some gardening, some like parrot raising, but really there was not much going on when we got there at the start of this quarter. So yeah, we had some fun cleaning it up, and then we had to really get to work on what we're doing. So this is a nice overhead view of the entire thing. So it's actually pretty big and incredible space, especially when you consider that this is in Los Angeles, where land is very valuable. So it's adjacent to other VA buildings right at the top here. On the left, you can see just a bit of the outfield of UCLA's Jackie Robinson Stadium. And on the bottom, all these houses is the community of Brentwood. So you can't really see much from this overhead view, but restoration work is ongoing, but really you can see it just a little bit in this corner. There's just a tiny amount of raised bed gardens. That was all that was really going on, and still is. There's about 20 raised planter boxes there, over like 3,000 square feet. Yeah. So what we did to start off is really mapped out the place. This is really one of the most important things that we had to do because there's a lot of space. And utilizing it effectively is really our goal. So as you can see, there's actually this like dark reddish area is all covered in like forest, eucalyptus. It shrinks the 15 acres down a lot, but I mean, 15 acres is kind of unmanageable at this point. So a lot of our plans involve cultivating crops because there's a lot of open field. We already have started these little raised bed gardens, and we just wanted to break down this space into smaller areas where we can have focused goals for each area. So they're kind of named around here. It's like open field, tilt field, greenhouse. So one of the first things that we did was take advantage of this collaboration between UCLA and the Veterans Gardens, or the Veterans Affairs Department. We have this, we have Jackie Robinson Stadium right there, and really we want to transform this space into a community building space. This is a way to actually get veterans and their families and whoever to actually be in the garden. Collaborate with UCLA, let them watch games, install some bleachers there. Bleachers are really not too expensive. There's no real maintenance. So I think after looking it up giving a cursory glance, it's about $50 to $100 per seat. So it's a pretty cheap investment. Until we start getting, more than a dozen people there, it's a pretty small investment. It's a simple way to encourage veterans to really come to the park and sets it apart from any other place. For the greenhouse, this is like the, centerpiece building. It's right at the entrance. On the left, you can see there's nothing there. It's kind of missing the parts of a greenhouse that make it work. But on the right, you can see like the potential. There's a lot of space in there, and we've talked about growing flowers or growing herbs. I think personally growing herbs would be the best bet because we really want to tie this into teaching. So growing flowers is nice. You can sell flowers. Growing herbs, it's the same sort of skills, but then you can have, in addition to having these agricultural classes, you can have stuff like cooking classes where you implement the herbs and recipes and really teach people how to use these for food. So there's a bunch of different herbs that are useful, like basil, cilantro, dill, etc. And then further along, to really, if we really want to invest a lot more into the space, we should really revitalize or really update the infrastructure there. So right now there's a couple like portable buildings that are pretty old, really just glorified storage closets. And if we really want to teach classes, we need really an updated space that this is a concept from this French company called Solaire Box that Professor Plon, one of his former students, started. And I mean, this is just really a concept, but just the idea of having a self-sustaining, you see these solar panels, a self-sustaining classroom environment where they can teach classes to veterans or veterans' families, and also where UCLA can collaborate and work on their own things. So those are some ideas, and then Jenny will take care of others.
Okay, so we pick up a site for beekeeping, and this place is next to the greenhouse, so we can have our beehive here, so it won't block the walking path. And besides, this place is in the corner of VA Garden, so it won't bother the neighborhood too much. And also, we can have these trees surrounding the beehive, so the bees won't scare the tourists, and the activity of the bees won't be disturbed by the tourists. And normally, we don't need to check the beehive very often, but like in summer season, which is the harvesting season, we need to check the beehive like every 2 or 3 weeks. So we think we can make this part-time job for VA, for veterans or their families. And also this beekeeping site can also serves as a learning place for them to learn the beekeeping skills. And in this picture, we can see all the tools and equipments we need for beekeeping. So first of all, we will need a beehive, because beehive is where bees live and produce honey and raise their young. And we decided to use Italian honeybee because they are more gentle and they'll be easier for beginners to handle. And then we need protective suits and a smoker and a honey brush. Smoker is used to calm the bees, so it can give the beekeeper an opportunity to walk in the beehive and without being hurt by the honeybees. And the honey brush is used when we collect the honeys from the beehive, and the protective suit can protect us from being attacked by the bees. Okay, and in this picture we can see the plants we can use we can plant as the food source for the honeybees. So first of all, it's the lilac trees and lavenders. They're in purple, and purple is the most sensitive color to honeybees. So with these purple plants, hopefully we can get more honeys. And next is the black-eyed Susan. Is in yellow, and yellow is the contrast color to purple. So hopefully honeybees will like these plants too. And for mint, it can serve not only as the food source for honeybees, it can also serve as food flavor for humans. So we can also harvest mint in this place. And the red poppies, we want these plants to enrich the colors. And this is the flower plan for this beekeeping sites. So it's about 5 meters in length and wide. So we can have 4 lilac trees on each side as the natural fence. And then we'll have the beehive in the center of the site and surrounded by 6 to 8 square feet of black-eyed Susan and red poppies and mints and lavenders. And the lilac trees are about 4 feet in height, so it can like shielding the whole place and protect the bees and also the tourists. Also, we can make this whole place also a interest of tourists. And these two tables are the total costs of all the beekeeping tools and the plants. So with a medium-sized beehive, we can accommodate approximately 3 pounds of Italian hybrid honeybee. And for lilac trees, we think it might take too long for the lilac seeds to grow into a lilac trees. So we think it will be easier to just purchase like 16 lilac trees, 3 to 4 feet in height. And for other plants, we don't have specific demand in their height, like lavender spore poppies, mint, and black hyacinths. So we can just purchase the seeds, and which will be much cheaper. And also by planting these flowers, I think people can also learn some flower planting skills, which will benefit them in the future. And this is, and with the medium-sized hive, we can harvest 20 to 70 pounds of honey per year. This variation depends on the weather, which means if it's extremely drought, then the production will be lower. And if the weather is very suitable, we'll have higher yield. And this figure is the unit honey prices for 2018. So as we can see here, the median number is 7.34 per pound. So with a rough estimation, we can see that we can get like $330 per year from the honey harvesting. So which means in 2 to 3 years, the profit we make from the honey harvesting will cover the budget we pay for the beekeeping tools. Okay, next we'll talk about the living lab.
Yeah. So this is an image I took from Professor Pilon's presentation in the faculty meeting. This shows a futuristic view of our city. Importantly, if you see, we'll have a lot of patches of plantation. And we'll have to plant on the roofs. So that's where urban farming is now the idea. And if you see, we also want our roofs to be covered with solar panels for electricity generation. So that's why indoor urban farming is equally important. So what we want to do is to create a living lab based in engineering building to work on projects that would be focused on these things. The first step that we'll go through, that Professor Pilon is leading with mechanical engineering, is to have the engineering for second floor patio to be used as the space for the project. So if you see here, this shed is basically a sample space that we can use for an indoor farming purpose. So basically, we can do indoor farming experiments inside this shed. And this whole space, basically, we can use it to have different kinds of activities for outdoor urban farming. For example, these pots that you see, which have flowers in it, we could grow food crops with some undergrad projects in them. And so on the other side, we have a big wall that can actually be used with vertical outdoor farming concept. So this location is pretty good for this kind of project. And I think we are moving forward. There's a lot of paperwork going on for this project. Basically, what we want is to get undergrad students involved. And also, this will be a good setup to actually have food production on campus, additional food production. So this animation basically shows the aeroponics plant, like food production basically, where basically the plants are in some pods or foams, and the roots are open to air, so the oxygen supply is a lot more, and you spray water through nozzles to the plants. The water also contains the minerals, and so basically the plants get everything they need from the nozzles. And there's also some lighting that can be controlled, And so basically that's how the whole indoor aeroponics farming works. And then these can be stacked like vertical farming that we have. So these can be stacked in vertical arrays and rows and columns. And this is the type of setup that we want to have for the indoor shed, the structure that I showed. And this is a proposal that we have from Vertical Green LLC. This basically has the closed indoor shed like this, the structure like this, and basically it has 3 verticals, 3 rows, and 2 depths. So basically you could have 18 different varieties of plants that you can grow in this structure. And the food production they estimate is 1 ton per year. Now we aren't sure about what kind of plants we can grow and what type of food we can grow. So if we have those numbers, we can estimate actually how much food we can grow and what will be the cost estimate for that. And can we help with the Edible Campus initiative with the food production here, how much we can contribute to that as well. This requires at peak 50 kilowatts of energy. So basically what we'll have is a closed structure where we know exactly how much energy, water it is consuming and exactly how much food it is outputting. So it could be a very good evaluation matrix purpose. It's an engineered setup basically. And do we know if it has been successful on UCLA campus? So these are 2 examples. One of them is the cylindrical aeroponics structure. These are also now very easily available on Amazon and as well very cheaply. And this is done by UCLA Housing and Hospitality. So we know that this works. And the one on the right side is by Bruin Home Solutions. So this is maintained by students and it's been done for like 1.5 years or so. And it is also based on aeroponics and students are actually able to maintain it. So these 2 things have been successful on campus, and that gives us pretty good inspiration to go ahead with a full living lab space, which can be maintained by students as well as some amount of staff support. So basically what we want to do is like the living lab will basically integrate with INFEWS, obviously, because we know how much water energy we are giving in, what is the food production. Right now it's being led by mechanical and aerospace engineering. But the ultimate goal is to have undergrad students involved with this project. So we can have senior design projects where they can change certain kind of plant production, or maybe they can put a solar panel on the roof of the structure that we have. So the modifications that we can do would involve a lot of undergrad projects. Outside also on the pods or whatever we have, we could have different kinds of projects working on those things. And we can obviously work with Bruin Home Solutions on how they actually engage students to maintain the structure. So this is overall the plan, and there's a lot of work needs to be done for calculation for this project. And that's it. Thank you.